Imagine, like, you really need to find some information, right? And it's something specific, let's say, on traditional Bengali medicine. You're super into, like, Ayurveda and all those ancient healing practices. But then you go to Wikipedia, and bam,
Hmm.
almost nothing there. Maybe a super short article. Frustrating, huh?
Yeah, I've totally been there. It's like hitting a wall.
Exactly. So today's deep dive is about a potential fix for these knowledge gaps, but also, the problems that come with it. We're looking at a research paper called The Promise and Pitfalls of AI Technology in Bridging the Digital Language Divide. Catchy, right?
Definitely grabs your attention.
It digs into what happened when Google Translate teamed up with Wikipedia's content translation system. Did it actually bridge the gap? Were there any unexpected downsides? And how does this even relate to us out here just browsing the web? That's what we're here to figure out.
It's a big question for sure.
For sure. One thing that jumped out at me was just the sheer scale of the change once Google Translate was in the picture. The amount of translated articles didn't just grow, it exploded.
Exploded. How so?
We're talking a 149% increase. That's not just some minor update. That's a total game changer for how Wikipedia's content is made.
That's wild. And, this gets right to the heart of one of Wikipedia's biggest struggles,
Yeah.
becoming truly multilingual.
Mm.
Because translations are key to making knowledge accessible to everyone. That's their whole deal. But translating millions upon millions of articles, that's a huge GE task. It takes time, resources, people fluent in tons of different languages.
It's overwhelming to even think about.
Totally. So Google Translate comes in, and suddenly it's way easier for editors to pitch in and translate stuff. And
Yep.
this huge jump in content. That's what we get as a result.
Makes sense. But this flood of new translations made me wonder, did the quality take a hit? Like, more content, but is it all reliable?
Right, you'd think so. But surprisingly, the study says no. The number of articles they had to delete because they were inaccurate actually went down after Google Translate came along.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Right. So it seemed like Google Translate wasn't churning out garbage that needed fixing. It was actually helping editors create better content, which is good news for all of us.
Definitely. It really shows how AI can be more than just automation. It can actually make us better at what we do.
Absolutely. And there's another cool thing here. The research found it wasn't just existing editors working faster either. This boom in translations also came with a huge wave of new editors joining in.
Wow, so it wasn't just about speed, it was about bringing more people into the fold. So Google Translate really kicked Wikipedia's content creation into overdrive. But all this new info, it's not without its hiccups, right? Like, yeah, more languages were getting translations, but the study found that more and more were coming from English.
Yeah, that's an important thing to consider.
So even though more languages were on the receiving end, the information itself was mainly flowing out from English, like creating an English-centric universe kind of thing.
Right.
Is that automatically a bad thing?
It's tricky. On the one hand, it makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
English is everywhere. It's a major language, so of course it's a big source.
Or
But then it makes you think about those English-centric viewpoints becoming even more, dominant. Remember our Bengali medicine example. Imagine if all the info available was basically filtered through an English lens, missing all those nuances, the Bengali traditions.
losing something in translation, basically.
Exactly. And when we talk about inequalities, the paper also pointed out that Google Translate's benefits weren't, like, universal. Languages with tons of content already, those high-resource languages, they saw way bigger gains than the ones with less.
So it's like the languages that needed the help the most weren't getting as much out of it.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
Think about it. English, Spanish, Mandarin, they rule the internet. So if you speak something less common, you're already starting from behind trying to find information. And this research shows that these tools, even though they're super helpful, they can accidentally make that gap even wider if we aren't careful.
That's a really important point. This is all super interesting, but it makes you wonder, like, what does this actually look like, in terms of the stuff people can find? Did Google Translate change the kinds of articles that were being translated? Were there suddenly, like, way more biographies in different languages? What about geography articles?
It's a really good question. And yeah, the researchers looked into that. They found that Google Translate did lead to more articles in most categories, but it wasn't like equal across the board. For example, there was a big jump in the number of translated biographies about women.
Oh, that's cool. More women in STEM getting recognition, more female artists, activists, their stories out there for the world to see. Where's the catch?
It's all relative. More biographies of women were being translated, sure. But you got to remember, There are already way more biographies about men on Wikipedia to begin with. So even with the extra effort, the overall ratio is still kind of unbalanced.
I see what you mean. It's like trying to, I don't know, bake a cake, but you've only got a few ingredients to work with. No matter what you do, you're limited by what you started with.
Exactly. And that means even with AI helping out, finding info about, say, female scientists from different cultures, different time periods, it's still hard. It shows how much work there still is to do when it comes to bridging that language gap.
So where does that leave us? We've seen how Google Translate basically supercharged how much stuff is on Wikipedia in other languages, brought in new voices, all that. But as we've been talking about, it's not perfect.
Not at all. The thing to remember is that technology, AI included, it's all just tools, right? And like any tool, they can be used in good ways and not so good ways. AI can definitely help bridge those divides, but it can also make those existing biases worse if we aren't paying attention.
That's why it's so important to really think about the stuff we see online, not just take it at face value.
100%.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this. Think about all the ways AI might be shaping the information you see every single day, right now. From news articles to those endless social media feeds. How much of it has been translated by AI? And what kinds of biases might you be running into without even realizing it? Something to think about as you scroll. This has been a fascinating deep dive. Until next time.